Welcome to the ABE-ASC Language Arts Standards. As we move through the different parts of the standards, you will want to follow along with the page numbers in your Content Standards document. Page numbers used here reflect the most recent edition of the standards, copyright May 2014. First, let's get familiar with the standards document by learning about its overall structure. The first several pages of the Language Arts Standards document contain background information about how and why the standards were developed, which we've discussed already in the beginning of this course. On page 19, you will see an explanation of how the language arts standards are organized into NRS levels, domains, and clusters. At the top of this chart, you see the domain Comprehension Literature. Below that, you'll notice a second heading of Craft and Structure Literature. This represents the cluster or group of related standards that fall within that domain. For the purpose of this example, you are seeing only 2 standards in the cluster. Remember, the standards are divided into 6 NRS levels that correspond to grade level equivalencies. There are several domains in each NRS level and several clusters within each domain. You will notice that throughout the NRS levels, some domains are included in future levels of learning, while others are new to that level or are an expansion of a previous domain. This is intentional and creates coherence among the 6 NRS levels. Each individual standard has a code on the left side to help us identify it. The first number in the code, in this case 2, refers to the NRS level of the standard. The capital letters that follow indicate the strand, in this case reading, and the following letters indicate the domain, Comprehension Literature. Then the last number represents the number of that specific standard. Now please turn back to the table of contents. The first standard section is the reading strand. Here you will find the reading standards for each NRS level 1 through 6. Then on page 72, you will find the writing and language standards for each NRS level 1 through 6. The speaking and listening standards begin on page 120, and they are followed on page 145 by an extensive glossary for all the language and terminology used in the language arts standards. The glossary will be useful as you unpack the standards and familiarize yourself with terms you are responsible to introduce to students. The last component of the language arts standards is a section on understanding text complexity that helps guide our selection of appropriate text. Now please turn to page 26. This is the overview page for the NRS Level 1 reading standards. It contains an outline of the domains covered in this level. There's also a useful reminder at the top of the page that students advancing through these standards are expected to meet each level's specific standards and retain or further develop the skills and understandings mastered in preceding levels. Each standard strand at every level has a similar overview page. Please turn now to page 46. This is the overview page for NRS Level 4 reading standards. Please notice that the domains for Level 4 reading differ from those in Level 1. Foundational skills, alphabetics, and fluency domains are not included in this higher level, and in Level 4 we see the addition of reading in the content areas and functional and workplace skills. This is characteristic of the rest of the standards. As students move to higher levels, foundational concepts will be replaced by higher level skills and content. Please turn to page 99. This is an example of NRS Level 4 writing standards. The domain is Writing Standards for Literacy in History, Social Studies, Science and Technical Subjects, or WL. This cluster of standards is titled Text Types and Purposes. The particular standard on this page is 4.w.wl.1, and you will note that this standard contains several components, indicated by the letters A through F. The reference column to the right has been provided for educators to see the connections between our standards and other documents to which Illinois aligned its content standards. This column includes connections to the Common Core State Standards, the Career Cluster Essential Knowledge and Skills, and the College and Career Readiness Standards, among others. For our final stop, please turn to page 143 and 144. This is Level 6 Speaking and Listening Standards. The domain is Presentation of Knowledge and Ideas, or PK, and you will see there are 5 standards in this cluster, all of which focus on how students will present information to others. That was a quick trip through the Illinois ABE-ASC Language Arts Content Standards, and I hope you feel somewhat comfortable navigating this document now. As you use the standards more and more, you will come to know them even better.